Kenneth Gannon, Westport United, PRO. We're in where it all began. This is Blouser's Pub on the Jane Street in Westport. Kenneth, big part of Westport United history, Blouser's.
It sure has been. It has been part of our local folklore going back to the 1920s anyways, 1930s. Tom Blouser Welch himself was a big soccer fan. He used to referee matches. He used to travel to all Westport United games. He used to referee. This pub was known as the Castle Bar at one point because it used to house all the Castle Bar Celtic guys after Westport United Castle Bar games. And the history actually carried on to the present day when you had a lot of the old timers from the soccer club to the present day coming into this pub. So there is a hell of a lot of history to this pub.
How did Blouser get his nickname?
He got his nickname from playing cards. He actually had a specific trick in which people would actually think that he was sly and win his card games vomit, so that's where the name came from.
Blouser, huh?
Yeah.
Came to the official pub. Is this where all the supporters would come after the matches?
You'd find quite a few of them here after games indeed, yes. Particularly the likes of Christy Moore Jr. and Noel Duffy. You could rhyme off a lot of names that would come after games. Supporters has been coming here for many a year. And the tradition is just still going on.
Yeah, we see the crest now, like the colours you're wearing, the Westport United colours, black and red. How did Westport United get their colours?
It's a strange story actually. The collection is Bohemians in Dublin. Pierce Gill was playing for Bohemians back in, not Pierce Gill, Frank Gill should I say, was playing for Bohemians in the early 20th century. And the rumour is that the colours came from Westport to Bohemians. I know for a fact that Westport played Bohemians in a friendly on the 2nd of January 1906. So that is the earliest connection that I know between the two sides and the colours. And there's a picture of that particular match on display in the Heritage Centre out the Quay.
Right, right. So we might have given them their colours as opposed to the other way around.
That's to say, even though some people think it's the other way around, we got our colours from Bohemians.
Yeah. Now, onto the Connacht Cup or the FAI Junior Cup. When was the last time the FAI Junior Cup was won over the Shannon? When was the last time it crossed the Shannon?
1929 by Sligo Rovers. And the only other two Connacht sides to contest the final were Sligo Celtic in 1925, which they were beaten, and Galway Bows in 1941. So Westport were only the fourth Connacht side ever to compete in the final over its 83-year history.
It's a major significance, this. A town of 5,000 people.
It sure is, but places with smaller populations actually won the competition in the past. And two examples would be Swilly Rovers of Ramelton and St Catherine's of Killybegs.
Right, right. Now, we're in Blouser's here. We have history written all over the walls. We'll have a walk around the pub here, and you might be able to take us through a few of these photographs.
I certainly will, yes. Yeah.
Right, Kenneth. Yeah, we have a few photos here on the wall from the past. I think we got an old scene in the pub here as well. Like, is Blouser himself in this photo here?
He could well be, but I find it very hard to spot him. But I do recognise Fonzie Canning with Raven in the background.
Where's that? There's Fonzie there. See
him back there, yeah. He obviously didn't change since the good old 1960s anyway.
So this was the 1960s. This was probably around the time that Westport United were last in the FAI Junior Cup. Was it semi-final?
Semi-final. It could certainly be that occasion, but it was certainly a good night anyways that night for whatever was going on there. But moving on, we do have a couple more photos here. This picture here would have been taken, I'd say, in the late 40s, early 50s. It was a young enough Westport United team when you spot some of the faces in the front row, they're pretty youthful looking at the time. I wouldn't be able to recognise any of the faces though, unfortunately. Another famous picture here would be the time Westport United won the league in 1968, I think. As far as I'm aware, it was against Ballinrobe Town. Sean McLaughlin is on that picture. He was captain at the time. I recognise Chris Kane, John Coffey, I think Noel Duffy is there, Jim Ring, my own grandfather Bertie Gannon, and a few young kids, and it was certainly great memories at the time when you look at these pictures, and it was certainly part of what is considered as being the golden age of Westport United. And another picture up here, even though this picture has nothing to do with soccer, Joe Bella McNally was part of the famous McNally family that played for Westport United in the 20s and 30s. There's two brothers in it, Bellum and Block. Block was a fine goalkeeper in his time, and Bellum used to play up front. And they said that Bellum had a very thunderous shot and scored many a great goal for the club back then.
Yeah. There's a lot of tradition in the McNallys now at Westport United, isn't there?
There sure is, yes. Of course, that has been passed through to their relations, the Rings.
Yeah.
The likes of Ronnie Ring, Michael Ring, Joe Ring, Jim Ring. So the tradition has been carried through down to the generations.
Yeah. From
the 1920s.
Yeah. Just head over here now to the corner here. It's a lot more recent now. A lot of these team photographs. There's a lot of players we probably recognise ourselves now. Have a look here now.
Okay, this picture here is the last time we won the Connacht Cup, back in May the 24, 1987, which was the second Westport United game I was ever at, actually. It was a great day. Westport won 2-1 actually, with goals from Liam Halpin and Danny McLaughlin. And the team is even listed out. On the front row you've got Ger Smith, John Coffey, Ger Duffy, Liam Halpin, Noel Moran, Ray Grady, Paddy Smith and Joe Moran. In the back row you've got Michael Horan, Danny McLaughlin, Ronnie Ring, Joe Malloy, Peter Collins, now of RTE fame, Ollie Cunningham, Pat Duffy, John McKenna and Michael McLaughlin. It was certainly a great day for Westport football. Westport went 2-0 up that day, and West United, their opponents, pulled a goal back near the end. And to the next photo here, it was taken back around 1985 when they were playing in Castlebar Celtic. You've Pat Duffy, Liam Halpin, Joe Moran, Danny McLaughlin, Leo Dare, Paul Moran, Mick McLaughlin, Peter Collins, Port Burns, John Coffey. Front row is Joe Malloy. I cannot honestly recognise that guy beside him.
Michael.
There's Michael Duffy. And Noel Moran, Ger Duffy and Ronnie Ring. You reckon it's Michael McBride?
Bobo.
Yeah, well, he's certainly young looking then. While moving up, this is a recent enough Westport United jersey, which was presented to the pub by Westport United over the last year, I think, in appreciation of sponsorship. While moving here, this is a photograph of Westport United taken in 1968. Some of the names I spot there would be Noel Duffy, Chris Kane, Mick McLaughlin, John Coffey, Jim Ring, Stevie Wilkinson, Sean McLaughlin, I'm not sure whether Johnny McNally is there, Tommy Gibbons, Ger Smith. A couple of faces that I'm not too familiar with, but I recognise most of them. And you could see how different the sports park was then. It was just a hill behind the pitch. When you look in the background now, it's all houses. So it goes to show how much that has changed over the years. Okay, moving on over here. This is the 1979-1980 season when Westport Crusaders won the league.
Westport Crusaders? Where did that name come from, Westport Crusaders?
I think the origins probably came from the local league, actually. There were a few teams of the town at one stage in the 1970s. You had Westport Crusaders, you had the Sporting Club, you had Westport Textiles, and you had Westport United. So there were actually 4 clubs at one point. And it actually took its toll in the late 1970s in Westport United, when it was non-existent for years, save for the underage. The underage kept the name going at the time, so the club didn't fold altogether. But Westport United were revived after that particular season when Crusaders won the league. Notable names, looking at the picture, Noel Duffy I think was manager. There's John Coffey, there's Leo Dyer, Owen Brennan, Mick McLaughlin, Noel Moran, Liam Halpin. I think there's Jim Ring again, there's John Duffy, Brian McNally, J. Smith, Sean Sheridan, Jim Cameron, and it was certainly a very good side at the time. Port Burns is in the background as well, in the back row beside Pat Foley. So there was a kind of a bit of a mini revival with soccer in the town at the time, and within a couple of years Westport United were going to win the league for the last time for a 20-year gap.
20-year gap?
Yes.
It's a long time for a club of Westport's stature in Mayo soccer to go.
But they spent a number of years in the Connacht Senior League, so that kind of didn't help really in Westport having such a long gap between winning leagues. Down the bottom here was the opening of the sports park, the reopening on the 23rd of July 1983. It was a match between a Connacht selection and Manchester United selection. And there's a couple of Westport names on it. You got Niall Halpin, Noel Duffy, Liam Halpin, Noel Moran, Peter Collins, Gerard Duffy, Sean McLaughlin, and Chris Kane, and my other grandfather Kevin Coughlin sponsored the jerseys at the time. The Man United names that were over at the time were Kevin Moran, Paul McGrath, Ray Wilkins. Ray Wilkins is down here, Kevin Moran, Paul McGrath, Frank Stapleton. They were the 4 Man United players that actually played that night. Another 1970s picture here is one of Crusaders. It was taken about 78 or sometime like that. You've J. Smith, which is Kevin Keegan style hairstyle. They both had similar hairstyles back then. Liam Halpin, Mick McLaughlin, Leo Dyer, Gary Kennedy, John Coffey, J. Smith. No, J. Smith. That could have been Paddy Smith actually.
Yeah.
Brian McNally, Sean Sheridan. They'd be the faces I'd most recognise from that picture. And above that is Westport United after winning the league for the first time in 20 years. Sorry about the quality of the glass on it, but it was certainly a historic day, and that wasn't the particular day for me that we won the league. The day for me that we won the league was the 14th of July that year, when we bet Manila 2-1 away, when David Cameron got the winner with about 2 minutes to go with a 28-yard free kick. The squad that day, when we bet Earl 7-1, it was 0-all at half time actually. Martin McGrail, Joe Lawless, Martin Garrity, Dennis Gall, Owen McHale, Finney Malley, Colin Kane, Joe Kelly, Alan McLaughlin and Dolly McNamara. In the front row was John Farry with his daughter Aisling, Colin McLaughlin, the captain Brian Kennedy, and he still is, David Cameron, Alan McCrone, Jerry McLaughlin, Finney Malley and Noel Moran, player manager, and Ian McLaughlin. While the date written is actually incorrect. The date they won the league was the 1st of September 2002. And moving on to the last 3 pictures here. The top row is a Westport United reserve team that was taken towards the mid to late 1980s. Better come around here. Port Burns in the back row. Kieran O'Hara, Ger Lenihan, Leo Dyer, Joe Moran, Damien Gannon, Kevin Ring, Aidan King. Front row is Ali Cunningham, Tommy Riley, I think that was Johnny Ring,
Yeah.
Bobby Welch, Pat Foley, Ollie Gannon and Tony Canning. That was taken before a reserve game. Another picture here was a Connacht selection taken at the Railway Hotel. I cannot honestly say whether there were Westport United players on that. There possibly were. So that picture was taken before an inter-pro game in Westport at the time. While on the bottom here we have a picture of Westport United taken in Athlone in 1956. A couple of recognisable faces there would be the balding features of Pierce Gill. There would be Finney Hopkins, Stephen Welch. I think Peter Ryan was on the side. The youthful Sean McLaughlin. There was Matty Reedy. When you look at the names, the older generation may recognise them better than I would, but there's certainly a lot of history and a lot of culture there. It actually brings back memories for the older generation to see these photographs of famous trips and famous days. And it has been a great tradition throughout the years to be following Westport United and being part of Westport United. And when you look at today, you have guys like Park Kelly and Christy Moran Sr. and Ed Hopkins, guys who would have known all that sort of days and incidents and games in the past. So they certainly have fond memories when they look at these pictures and say, I was there, I've seen these games, I remember the players, remember the crack, and you could actually write a book on the history of Westport United by looking at the photos, looking at the famous great teams of the 50s, 60s, 70s, along with our current junior team, who has surpassed all the expectations of every single team in the past by winning the FAI Junior Cup.
Okay, Gannon, thank you.
Yeah.